Hello everybody, it's Vinyl Rich here. Guess what I've been listening to all week? Albums from 1984, and this is going to be my 20 favorite albums from 1984. Essentially for 83, I showed 22, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to do 20 for 84, and it might be my last one. I started this the year 1965, and I'm up to 84. That's 20 years. So this might be the last of this. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what kind of feedback I get. But number 20, coming in strong, is Madness. Keep Moving? Yeah. This is probably the worst album cover of the bunch. I mean, look at that, man. It has all the individual guys jogging. And holy mackerel, that's terrible. And when this came out, I was a runner, man. I used to run 3-4 times a week. But yeah, it's got flashes of some little quirky ska stuff in it. But for the most part, it's just well-written songs, you know. Number 19, Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith, is it? Yeah. Cool album cover. I noticed this record does need a clean. I'm not one that cleans records really too much, but yeah, this one could use a good clean. But yeah, this is a good album. It's pretty strong all the way through. It just seems a little bit familiar. But yeah, it's a good album. Number 18 is Christian Death, Catastrophe Ballet, their second album. This is a French version of this on this label. That label issued quite a few LA bands on it. Or some. I don't know about quite a few. This is a great album. The first song, Berlin or whatever, singing about the wall, and it's really dreamy and it's very slow. And then it goes into the next song very fast. But for the most part, the songs are pretty mid-tempo to slow. And I remember when I was playing this, my wife goes, you know, that looks like crazy music, but it really isn't, is it? No, it's not. Number 17, the Pogues debut. Turns out this is one of Metal Theologian's favorite bands. This is a great album. It's kind of traditional Irish music on steroids, you know, punked up. But yeah, I really like this album a lot. It's not their best, but it's number 17 from 1984. Number 16 is a new one for me. There's 3 albums on this that made this top 20 that I'm not as familiar with as the others. And this is the first of the 3, and it's Tales of Terror. I've only had this record a couple of weeks. And if you would have seen my last Final Finds, you would have seen it there. It's a fantastic album. This is a recent reissue. Now, I got lots of comments that it's not near as good as an original. But this is really good. It's dead quiet. It's red vinyl. It's dead quiet. No sound in between songs. But if the originals are better than this, then if I see an original for a decent price, I will get it, man. Just to, you know. But yeah, this is good. Sounds way better than a Mystic Records or a Posh Boy record, you know. But yeah, really cool. It's way ahead of its time. You can see where it's influenced grunge bands, but it's got the hooks of that sleaze rock that would come out later in the 80s. Number 15, just a fantastic record. Now, this is pushing the envelope of an album. It's got 5 songs on side 1 and 6 songs on side 2, so I'm counting it as an album. And it's JFA's Untitled. It's just fantastic. It's got a number of instrumentals on it. One is ABD, and what that is, it's an instrumental of a David Bowie song and a Damned song where they They switch back and forth, and I can't remember what Bowie and what Damn song it is. And then the day Walt Disney died. That's a pretty long, it's an epic song. Standing on the Verge, first song on side 2, that's a George Clinton song, and it's an instrumental. Pipe Truck, another instrumental, the surf song, and it's credited to The Ventures and East Bay Ray. And then the last song is Untitled, and it's an instrumental, it's pretty long. And I think on that one, the band all switched instruments. And they would do that in concert. Number 14, Black Flag, Slip It In. Black Flag, I think, came out with 3 records in '84. One of them was a instrumental on one side and spoken word on the other. But this is one of the 3 that they came out with. Side 1 is really good. But the song, like, say Black Coffee, it's a good song, but the lyrics are kind of stupid, you know, especially me. I'm not a coffee drinker, you know. Wound Up, Rat's Eyes. Rat's Eyes is a little bit slower and drudgier, but it ends the side 1 very well. And side 2 is really good too. I think the first song, Obliteration, is an instrumental, and then the bars is really one of the better songs on the album. Maybe my second favorite song on the album. And then My Ghetto, it's just a fast, kind of a bit of a throwaway. And You're Not Evil, another slow, grungy number. Number 13 is the Ramones. They actually come up with another good album in the 80s. It starts out with Mama's Boy. It's a fantastic song. And then the next one is I'm Not Afraid of Life. That's a very poppy song, really. You know, kind of like how their songs were based a lot in 60s pop culture and surf music. You know, just the music in it. Too Tough to Die, a little bit harder. Then you got Durango 95. It's a short instrumental. And then Warthog. I believe it might be Dee Dee singing in that. And on the word for the lyrics on the Interstate, it just has a question mark. But yeah, like, okay, here's the first song on side 2, Howling at the Wolf. Sha la 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 la, sha la. You know, it's pretty 60s pop influenced. Number 12, the one that all punk rockers should have at number 1, but whatever. This is Minutemen. Driving 55 on the 10. Or is it, no, double nickels on the dime. This is another one with a kind of a crappy album cover, if you ask me. It's got like 40 or so songs. And I believe this is the lyrics to all the songs. And they're very short, quirky. A lot of different styles on this. Probably if I dove into this more often, it would be higher on my list. But it is what it is. Now we're in 11. We're getting close to top 10. And it's Sam Hain in Ituum or whatever, you know. This is a audiophile's nightmare. The guitars on this are so grungy and sloppy and just so not clear. I don't have the words to describe it. But the songs are, for the most part, they're all very well written songs. Like side 1, all great songs, all murder, all guts, all fun. That's kind of the weak spot on side 1. But yeah, dig this album, man. Number 10. I think they made my list for 83. It's Alien Sex Fiend, Acid Bath, their second album. Great album cover on this one. Look at that shot of the band. It's fantastic. Nick Fiend does all the album covers, the singer. This one is a little more synthesizer based. It's still got the guitars, but a lot of the songs are like Dead and Reburied. It comes out as just a you know. But yeah, very cool. Now this band, they kind of can like get into a groove and it just goes on and on and on. And I can see why some people would not like this or get bored with it. But not me. So that's my number 10, I think. Yeah. Number 9, Metallica, Ride the Lightning. Now this is another one that I'm relatively new to. I had this on CD. I mean, I had all their records on CD. I didn't buy the vinyl. And I probably bought them in the 90s, maybe the 2000s even. And I probably played the CD 5 times at most, you know. Since buying this from the Walmart, I've probably played this album 6 or so times. And it's a fantastic album. Now, this list is I'm doing my best or my favorites. If I was doing what I thought was actually the best albums, this would probably be number 1. It's just a fantastic album. Fight Fire with Fire, maybe the weakest song on side 1, and that's how it starts out. But other than that, god dang, I hope I don't start coughing. It's a good album. Number 8, maybe this is the one that most punkers should have at number 1. It's Husker Du, Zen Arcade. Another double album. But I didn't mention it, that Minutemen's a double album. On SST Records. I love the guitar tones on this. Most of the vocals I love. It's a really great album, man. But the guitar tones on this are just fantastic. Number 7. It's a Battalion of Saints, Second Coming. This is fantastic, dude. The vocals, this dude here, his vocals are out of control. Fantastic. Great songs. Great riffing. It's just a great album all in all, you know. And they were fantastic live. They were performing not long ago, and this guy here, he looks scary, dude. Kind of like Robert Smith of The Cure, you know. He still wears that makeup in his hair. And it's like, come on, dude, man. You're going to scare the kids looking like that, you know. Number 6, Die Crucian. I think this is a self-titled, huh? Yeah. Touch and Go Records, number 4. This is fantastic. This is not for everybody. This is brutally fast. And the vocals, man, fantastic vocals. Now, I'm sure you youngsters out there, if you put this on, you're going to, oh, that's heavy metal. No, this is not heavy metal. It's kind of, this is the time where heavy metal was borrowing or, you know, from hardcore, and hardcore was borrowing from heavy metal, and it was like a merging. This is definitely a punk album, but man, the vocals on this are brutal. And it's my number 6 album, dude. Number 5 is an interesting one. And it's Public Image Limited. And it's Commercial Zone. Now this was recorded in 83, but it wasn't released until 84. And it was released after this one. And what happened is these are earlier versions of this, or some of these songs. And this is with Keith Levine on guitar and keyboards. And I'm not sure if Jah Wobble is still on bass, but the bass is fantastic on this. And Johnny Rotten, John Lydon, fired Keith, kind of basically broke up the band. He re-recorded everything with, sounds like studio musicians. This is one of Public Image's worst albums. Great songs, but the production on it sounds like an 80s, you know, production. I don't like it. Supposedly Keith Levine went into the recording studio, and, you know, the recording studio, you know, knew him, and, you know, because he'd been working on this probably more than Johnny. You know, Johnny just played the vocals, but as far as the instruments and the production, see, it even says produced by Keith Levine. I think Keith was doing all the work. So he went into the studio one day and he snagged the tapes And it looks like it's a bootleg, but this is actually an official Virgin Islands release. Number 4. It's probably the best rock album, I think, of the year. And it's an example of a punk rock band developing into a really great rock band. And it's the Pretenders, Learning to Crawl. It's just a fantastic album. It's got one clunker, on each side. Like I think it's Watching the Clothes. That's kind of a throwaway song. And Thin Line Between Love and Hate. That borders on wankerism. But overall, man, this is a great album. Great riffs. And just middle of the road, it starts off. And then Back on the Chain Gang. I mean, that's a 1-2 punch, dude. Thumbelina on side 2. But the way it ends with 2,000 Miles, just a fantastic love song. Christmas song. Number 3 is the third album that's relatively new to me. I probably had this album a couple of years now, and it's very high on my list. Number 3, Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales. This is another audiophile's nightmare. There aren't too many audiophile records on this album. Really. There's a couple, maybe. It's fantastic, dude. Just a grungy, just hard-hitting. But the guitars and the singing it's not like the Metallica production values at all. But I'll take this over the Metallica. I mean, it might not be a better record, but it's definitely, I prefer it. It's just fantastic. It's their first album. I think the Hellhammer EP that I have came out this year also. I was thinking of including that, but I don't want to start including EPs on this. Number 2, this is the one that most people are going to say, what? Come on. But other people are going to say it should be number 1. And it's the Smiths' debut. Is it just a self-titled? Yeah, I think so, huh? This is a great album, man. I prefer side 2 with This Charming Man. I mean, I love that song. Still Ill, Hand in Glove. And then What Difference Does It Make? The U.S. version has that on there. I Don't Owe You Anything. And then Suffer Little Children. It's a fantastic side. Almost perfect. Side 2, Reel Around the Fountain, is a really slow, plodding song. Very beautiful. And there's a bit of that. There aren't a lot of fast songs on side 1. But they're all good, man. And yeah, I really dig this album. Morrissey's fantastic on this. His lyrics, his singing. It gets kind of weird in parts. But I dig it, man, My heavy metal friend Tom hated this. In fact, it was funny. Back in the 80s, if I ever wanted Tom, because he lived he moved in, lived 2 houses away. If I ever wanted to get him to leave, I would just put on the Smiths. And after a couple of songs, I'm going to take off, dude. It never failed. Now, what could be number 1? It's got to be Purple Rain, huh? By Prince? Nah, I had that album, but I purged it because I realized I don't really want to listen to that album anymore. It's the Butthole Surfers. And what's the name of this? Psychic Powerless, Another Man's Sack. This is fantastic. I don't remember the names of the songs offhand. It's Demented. It's got a few songs that kind of sound normal, but for the most part, it's just demented noise and weirdness. And I think it's just so original. It's like psychedelic punk rock, experimental noise. And it's just fantastic. I saw them in 1984, and they were opening for... Public Image was the headliner. And these guys came out, and 2 drummers standing there. And then the guitar player, his haircut was, one side of his head was shaved, and the other side was like, I think it's Leary, his name, Paul Leary, is it? The other side was like spiked out. They were just crazy. And then the singer, man, he's almost as charismatic as Lux Interior on stage. But anyways, take care. That's my top 20. Best 20 from 84. Let me know if you want me to do 85. I don't know. I'll take a break. That's for sure. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young live at Los Angeles.